Today I'm joined by Eskild Lund Sørense, the author of The Human Boardroom, and we're very excited that he'll be joining us at our Copenhagen Summit on Thursday, the 8th of October. He's going to be leading one of our Leadership Lab sessions, and Eskild, I'd love to hear more about that.
Thanks, Graham. And I'm also super excited to be at the venue. I think this is one of those places where technology comes together with the human side of things. And what we usually, or what I usually get excited about is getting people together and talking about things that we can do better.
That sounds amazing. And it's really shaping up to be an extraordinary event. Now, diving deeper into your session, Heimdall's mandate governing the human system. I see that you say failure rarely starts in technology. To you, what does human drift actually look like in an organization before it becomes visible as a serious problem?
Yeah, this is one of those things that are usually putting in blind spots into management's view of things. The challenge is that a lot of these technology things is something that we can easily put into dashboards, and when they are green, then we are happy. But the decisions and the assumptions that are lying underneath this, that is usually where the risk has already started. Somebody who didn't speak up, somebody who made an assumption about something that turns out to be changing, and then you have forgotten about why it is that you assumed that now we are still in a safe place. And all of a sudden you're not. So that's how we drift in. We believe that we have things under control, and then we forget to pay attention to when slowly, like a frog in a pot, things are changing and we don't realize until it's too late.
It's fascinating to hear, and I really do think when you look at things from a different perspective, it is very beneficial. I'd also love to know, how can leaders distinguish a genuine weak signal from noise, especially when the data appears to say everything is fine?
But the first thing comes it comes to the point that what we see and what we believe is very much influenced by our bias. So here it's important to distinguish with what is the critical systems and what are the things that we talk about that don't really have any impact. And again, here usually what we would be looking at is from a human side of it would be more of the things that are not said than it would be the things that we have already controlled. So it's the things that are not clear, but that we believe is not part of the critical system. That's where the holes start coming up.
Very interesting. And I also noticed that you advocate designated dissent. How do you make sure dissent is genuinely heard rather than becoming a box-ticking exercise?
Yeah, I think this is probably the most interesting thing for me, at least, that then we're looking at how decisions are made, and especially in boardrooms and in senior management meetings. There's not a lot of time to make decisions, and sometimes you would have a person like Roy Keane sitting in the meeting and pushing, and you would know, okay, he's always the grumpy guy, right? It ends up being one person who's being critical, and that ends up being something which is interpersonal, and where you then start retracting yourself from that person because that person is always being critical. And that's why I say, yeah, okay, Roy had something to say. We have heard him. Let's move on. So that would be the tick boxing part of it. But the real thing that you need to do to ensure that this works all the time is that you make it an institution, which means that it's something that everybody needs to take part of. And we will come back to that at the Leadership Lab. But the thing here is that it's not something that should be driven by a person and the person's interpersonal skills. It should be something that everybody participates in. And what I'm saying is that just like you have the white hats that are trying to hack your system, if we take a cybersecurity point of view, then you need to have a red hat in the room, one that is critical and say, but have we thought about this? Have we thought about how things can go wrong? So it's something that you are actively pursuing and going through and listening to, and not just saying, okay, so now we've heard, angry guy or angry woman, let's move on to the next meeting.
It is fascinating, and I think it is genuinely interesting how different personalities interact. So thank you. And finally, I really wanted to dig a bit deeper. Why do smart, experienced executives so often miss warning signs that seem obvious in hindsight?
Yeah, Captain Hindsight, of course, always comes in with his cape and his underwear outside his pants, where he can demonstrate, this is what went wrong. It comes back to bias and the fact that we tend to lean into these things that are called groupthink as one of the examples. So humans, again, going back to this, you can say the shift between humans and technology here would be linked to the fact that we are group animals and we want to fit in. And even when we have top executives that have done a lot of interactions with people and made a lot of critical decisions, what I often experience is that if nobody raises their voice, then it will feel like that we have consent. And that's not always that you can say the feeling of agreeing, because nobody said anything. That means that we agree. But often what is underlying this is that I have something that I would like to say. And to me, it's obvious. And then I'm looking around at my fellow colleagues, and none of them are doing anything. And then I will go, okay, maybe it's just me, and then I won't say anything. And so that's one of the driving mechanisms behind this, is that if nobody speaks up, then nobody will speak up at all, and you would just believe that you're sitting in that situation. I've sat with boards where we've had this conversation, and then you go, but I had this feeling, and then all of a sudden, other people start speaking up and say, but I thought that as well, but I just felt stupid because nobody else was saying anything. I thought, I must be crazy, or it's just not right. So that's why it's so important to say things out loud. If it is that you have that gut feeling, then speak up, because we have brains more than one place. We have some would say we have 7 chakras, but we have brains in our guts. There's actually brain cells there. So there's a reason why you should listen to your gut. It's not stupid. It knows what it's doing, but we need to be able to listen to it. And when we sit in a group, we often stop listening and just pretend that we are like all the other gazelles in the room.
Thank you so much for your perspective there, Eskild. I think from a leadership point of view, there are so many things which can be taken and perspectives into the professional field. We are really looking forward to your Leadership Lab session, which is taking place in Copenhagen on Thursday, the 8th of October. Look forward to seeing you there.